All right. Good afternoon, everybody. Good morning, should I say? It feels like afternoon for me, but good morning. We have a couple updates to share with you guys in regards to the upcoming severe weather potential for today as well as tomorrow. Go ahead and pop out the chat here to see if anybody's listening. All right. Awesome. So we got about 16 people in here. Let's go ahead and dive right into it. So today we are monitoring a threat in Illinois, South Wisconsin, West Indiana. It's expected to be a decent threat today. What's up, Alan? What's up, Erica? So we have a decent threat shaping up to our west today out in Iowa, moving into the region here, Illinois. We do have a couple of risks to go over here. First and foremost, go ahead and take a look at the regional outlook for today. We do have a slight risk primarily in effect here for South Wisconsin, most all of Illinois, actually all of Illinois. And then also just nudging into Western Indiana, we have an enhanced risk out in far West Illinois. We are concerned for all hazards today out in these risk areas, in particular tornadoes, wind, and hail. The tornadic threat is highest in the yellow shaded area where a strong tornado could occur out in western Illinois. Then as we get further into Illinois, the 5% reddish color there, that's going to be another decent risk there. We could see a couple tornadoes in that risk zone. And then also further to the east across Indiana and South Wisconsin, getting in on a 2% risk. So maybe a tornado or two possible later on this evening in those risk areas. We do have a risk today for damaging wind gusts as well across the entire state of Illinois, extreme South Wisconsin, and also most of Indiana there. Highest risk in yellow, a little bit lower of a risk there in the brownish red color. And then finally, we do have a hail threat out in Iowa and also West Illinois today, where storms could produce large hail, larger than 2-inch in diameter. So we're talking like golf balls and ping pong balls and higher, larger than that. So if you guys are out in the West Illinois area, but Illinois really in general, that's going to be the main risk area today. But South Wisconsin, also West Indiana, getting in on those risks as well. As far as timing goes, the storms are actually already formed out here in Iowa for round one. We are expecting round two to develop further, probably about the same area actually, but later on today. At least it's going to move off to the east northeast. We're going to have development back around the same areas here as the afternoon evening goes on. That'll push towards the Illinois area as well as South Wisconsin and West Indiana areas as the evening goes on. So if you guys are out in those areas, be on alert later tonight. All hazards are possible starting at West Indiana, South Wisconsin, and all of Illinois. Now, we do have a severe threat for tomorrow as well. Go ahead and zoom this down here. So we do have an update for our severe threat tomorrow. They have shifted that east and north. We had mentioned that in our discussion yesterday. It now highlights southern Michigan, most all of central and western Ohio, and most all of Indiana. We'll go ahead and say east central Indiana here. So West Indiana and Illinois and Wisconsin, as well as North Michigan, getting out of this threat, which is awesome. We're going to get rid of that comment. I don't know if that you guys saw that or not, but that's spam. We're going to block that. All right. So today, for tomorrow, we have this threat that shifted a little bit further east. We are watching this threat very closely. It does contain all hazards being possible. Here is your tornado risk according to the SPC. It is highest across southern and southeast Michigan, northwest Ohio, as well as northeast Indiana. But the risk does extend all the way back towards the Evansville, Bloomington, Indianapolis, all the way through Dayton, Cincinnati, over toward Cleveland, Akron, Youngstown area. If you're in the green and red shaded areas, you are in a threat. The white areas are no threat for a tornado. We are concerned for hail is going to be the main threat, really, for tomorrow. I would not be shocked, honestly, if this continues to uptrend, which it could. But for right now, I think the slight risk here, level 2 risk, is good. But if this continues to uptrend, I would definitely consider upping the hail threat here to 30%. So I think the hail is going to be the primary driver of this event across the region, whether you're going to be in Indiana, Ohio, or Michigan. That's going to be the main threat there. And then a lower chance for damaging winds here across the region here. So tomorrow is definitely a threat here, more so speaking for, I think, the Ohio and Michigan areas. Indiana's kind of split between these two areas. So, for example, today's threat kind of stops here at the Indiana border here. So if you're in West Indiana, Jenny or Janine, I don't know exactly how you want to pronounce that name. I see your comments about Vincent a lot. So Vincent's down here in southern Indiana. you're on the edge of the risk today where you're in a risk, but it's also a low end risk for tonight. But then tomorrow, we kind of see the exact same scenario here in West Indiana. You're kind of between these two setups. So you're kind of in a good spot. You're in a small risk, but it's a risk nonetheless for both days, but you're definitely not in the highest risk for either day. I would be more so concerned for, I think, overnight or later tonight, overnight tonight for your area. And they're in Southwest Indiana. So I just want to address that. I know I've seen a lot of your comments there. I just wanted to address that personally. Otherwise, that's all I got to share with you guys as far as the risk areas go. But as far as the models go today, we're seeing that development out here in Iowa. This is going to be at 1 p.m. Eastern, noon Central. We're going to see additional development here as the afternoon goes on. There it is right there across south central Iowa. This line could very well be severe as it pushes into Wisconsin and Illinois. And that's going to continue to develop as we move into the afternoon hours there, as we get into Illinois there, and also potentially West Indiana. These storms don't look too impressive down here, but the environment would support a severe storm or two. Definitely going to be highest off here in the northern part of Illinois, South Wisconsin, and also maybe Northwest Indiana as well. But for tomorrow, we are seeing the model here throw out some, well, first and foremost, we're going to have this line of storms working through Wednesday morning across Indiana, Ohio, Michigan. That will clear out. We'll get some sunshine, destabilize the atmosphere, and then round two for Wednesday is going to be centered, I think personally, across northern Indiana, northwest Ohio, and southeast Michigan. The models have hinted at this spot in particular very closely. So this zone up here from like Mount Pleasant, Michigan, down here to right around the Indianapolis and Columbus area, and then areas between, those are the main areas of concern. So if you're like down here in the Ohio River Valley or back here, Illinois, or maybe over here towards Zanesville, Ohio, you should honestly be out of that threat tomorrow. You are still in the SPC risk, but the models right now are hinting at development further to your north. It's been that way for a few model runs now. So I think the risk tomorrow, more so speaking on the side of this area, is going to be on the north side for Michigan, northern Indiana, northwest Ohio there. So that's my personal take. We'll have more details as new information and data comes out through the afternoon today. We still have we have the 18Z run in the afternoon, we have the evening, and also tomorrow morning's runs. So we have three or four actually more model runs to get through to finalize everything. We're just kind of narrowing down everything at this point. But for tomorrow, that's going to be your risk area. And then also, we cannot forget about today in the coverage area for Western Illinois here. So that is all I have to share with you guys. If you guys got questions about the threat or the threats, go ahead and drop those in chat. Otherwise, that is all I have to share. I'll go ahead and pop out the chat here again. Good morning, Anita. Good morning, Katie. What time will the storms be in Terre Haute, Indiana? So tonight, looking roughly right around 10 p.m. or so, start looking for your storms to your west. Not expecting too much of a severe threat there, but it is a possibility nonetheless. And then tomorrow, I don't really think you're going to get any storms tomorrow. As soon as that line comes through later on tonight, I don't see the models indicating storms at all down there for you guys. I think it's going to be further to your north. So after tonight, I think you're going to be fine, even though you are under a risk here for tomorrow. I'll bring it back up here as well. I don't see storms firing up that far south. Yeah, I saw that on the radar. We did have a storm last night near Vincent's, although it didn't look too impressive. Maybe some small hail in there, some lightning, but otherwise it was not severe. It was just a good old lightning storm. Which sometimes it's a good change of pace to like actually enjoy storms without having to worry about severe weather. So it's awesome. We didn't really have much in the way of severe weather, period, across the region. We did have a chance of that down by the Ohio River Valley, but overall that risk stayed subdued. So that's good news. Yeah, there's no reason to be scared, Devin. This is going to be a pretty low threat. We're not talking like huge, strong tornadoes, outbreak, nothing like that. It's just going to be an isolated severe storm or two. Gusty winds, probably some hail. There's a very, very low chance for a tornado tonight. In fact, I can go ahead and bring that up a little bit better for you guys to kind of see how far away from the risk you guys actually are. So this is today's risk. And the highest risk for tornadoes is out here in this yellow area. The red area here is a little bit less of a threat, but still a good threat here. A couple tornadoes possible across Illinois. But as we get over here toward Terre Haute and Vincennes, you guys are in the 2% risk. So it's an even lower risk than what's to your west there. So it's a low chance. It's not a zero chance, But I think looking at the trends, looking at models, stuff like that, I think the threat is pretty much clear that's highest off to your west. So honestly, from a educated standpoint here, I wouldn't be too overly concerned about it at this point. But if that changes, we'll let you guys know. We'll cover it live here on the page. If anything does go warned for a tornado here in the region, we'll be live streaming. So feel free to jump on if you see us live, watch our coverage. Keep you guys safe. No problem. Jason? Yeah, it's a pretty low risk for your area there. So I'm not going to say it's not going to happen, but between like the probability of it happening and not happening, the needle on that spectrum is towards not happening pretty significantly. So thanks, Christy. For those of you from Michigan watching from Michigan Storm Chasers page, I'll be live there at 11:30 to discuss the Michigan threat specifically. So I'll be live there about 15 more minutes. I see I got a lot of people in here for this stream. I got 65, so that's awesome. Appreciate you guys watching. How is tomorrow looking? Depends on the area. Tomorrow there is a risk, primarily, in my opinion. Well, first and foremost, the SPC risk there is in yellow and green. So all of Indiana, all of Ohio, and then southern Michigan in that threat. But looking at models and stuff like that, the only area of concern that I have that actually fires off storms tomorrow is way up here in North Indiana, Northwest Ohio, and South Michigan. That may change. It could very well change. But right now, between yesterday's models, so kind of flash back to yesterday, the afternoon models yesterday, the evening models yesterday, the overnight models, and also this morning's models have showed this exact same scenario with no storms firing further south. So that's why I'm kind of thinking that this may be a further north threat. So areas south of Indianapolis and south of Columbus, you guys should be in the clear as far as risk goes tomorrow. You are still in a severe risk for the SPC. It's just that these models aren't really firing off anything down there. If storms happen to fire further south, the environment would support severe weather. So it's a chance. But overall, the risk is much higher, in my opinion, further to the north. The soundings for Indiana tonight say tornado making me worry. All right, let's go ahead and do that. We can do that live here. So I can give you a little bit of a better look here. What that was. So here is the model for tonight. Let's go ahead and take a sounding from your area about, let's go ahead and put 10 p.m. because that's when the storms are going to be off to your west if there's going to be storms at all. So we're going to take a sounding from that area and I can't generate it. Go figure. Let's try something else. Let's try this one. It's important to know just pulling soundings that say tornado is not, it's not really a forecast to do it that way, to be quite honest with you. Better arrival of storms is going to be a little bit later on. It's going to be ahead of the main line there. So let's go ahead and pull the sounding here. So one thing I noticed with this is there's not a lot of spin here. The wind shear is oriented in one direction. It's not turning with height, which is what we want to see with tornadoes. Also see some support there in the low levels is not that strong, as well as surface instability is not very strong at all. It's a marginal profile. Good moisture. Could see some gusty winds with that, but overall, this does not scream tornadoes to me at all. So, yeah, I don't really see much there. It's a low chance. Jordan Flint would be in the level 2 risk for tomorrow. We'll cover that here on Michigan Storm Chasers in about 15 minutes. We'll be going live there. But yeah, overall, the better environment is further west of what these storms are actually like. For example, like right here is your 10 p.m. And the storms are supposed to be coming into your area at this point, but the better environment's further to your west here still in Illinois. So the storms are not going to be in the best environment tonight. It's still a risk, so don't discount it because it's a risk, but it's a very low risk. There is your risk for tonight. So areas in green is the lowest risk, level 1. Yellow is level 2. Orange is level 3. That goes on up to level 5 there at the highest. So there's no high risk tonight. There's no level 5. It's just the risk is 1 out of 5 or 2 out of 5, so on and so forth. So When you get closer to 2, 3, 4, 5, that's when you get those bigger risks. But level 1 is definitely a risk that I wouldn't be overly, anxious about. What about 8 p.m.? The environment would be worse at 8 p.m. just because if you go back to the model here, it moves into the area. 8 p.m. would be way back here, so it's not even close to Indiana at that point. It's way back here still in basically Missouri, Iowa, and Illinois. So the better environment arrives overnight tonight there at 5 in the morning. So this model here has the arrival of storms across the Illinois-Indiana border at roughly 10 p.m. And the environment in that particular area at the 10 p.m. is pretty marginal at best, just on the edge there of the better instability and wind shear. So all this coloration here is a better atmosphere. Out here on the border where storms are, it's not the greatest atmosphere. Will we have storms 5 in the morning? Unlikely, very unlikely. Going back to the simulated radar here, 5 in the morning would put us right about here. Actually, that'd be 4 in the morning for you guys. This is going to be 5 right here. And as you can see, the radar is completely clear for Indiana and Illinois. So yeah, I think so, Christy. If that changes, we'll let you guys know. But otherwise, I think this risk is much higher for tomorrow, at least, is much higher further to the north across North Indiana, Northwest Ohio. Go ahead and say North Central Ohio too, and then also South Michigan. What are the chances we'll develop stronger tonight or tomorrow? For tonight, unlikely. It's definitely a higher risk off to the west here where you see these orange and yellow colors. All right. I got to hop off here pretty soon here. And again, okay, for tomorrow. So, Erica, tomorrow's risk, if it's going to be upgraded at all, personally, I don't think it will be at this point unless it uptrends again into the overnight hours. Based off right now, I think a slight risk is good. But if it does get upgraded, it's most likely going to be for hail, especially if storms look more isolated instead of like a line. If we get storms by themselves tomorrow, they're going to produce large hail. So I could see a 30% hail contour get added somewhere across the northeast Indiana, northwest Ohio, southeast Michigan zone. But again, I don't think it will be. Yeah, Devin, the better environment lacks behind the storm. So the storms arrive first, and they're basically just on the very edge of that better environment. So after the storms go through is when that better environment is going to move in. But that's going to be after the instability is gone and stuff like that. So the overall risk tonight is quite low. All right. Grand Blank, you guys are going to be in basically the edge of the slight risk and marginal risk tomorrow. So you guys are in the risk for tomorrow there in Michigan. But what are the timing? Are the storms firing tomorrow in Southwest Michigan? That's going to be roughly between 12 p.m. and 2 p.m. in West Michigan, and it's going to quickly move east. So it's going to be a pretty early afternoon threat. It's not going to be late at night or anything like that. Be a daytime threat for once here in Michigan. So won't be having to stay up late to cover, which is awesome. But I got to hop off here. I have a live stream over on our Michigan page to do here at 11:30. So I got to hop off here and get prepared for that. So I appreciate you guys watching. We may go live later on tonight if there's severe weather in the Illinois, Wisconsin, or even Indiana area. We'll be live covering it. But overall, 2 risks back to back here for tomorrow and today. Tomorrow's risk is for mainly, in my opinion, Northeast Indiana, Northwest Ohio, South Michigan. But there is a risk for most of Ohio, most of Indiana, and then also South Michigan as well. Lower the further south you go. But then today, there's also a risk for pretty much the entire state of Illinois, South Wisconsin, and then also West Indiana as well as Southern Ohio getting in on the risk there. So with that being said, I got to hop off here. Stay tuned to the page. Make sure you have a way to get warnings today. You guys stay safe, and I'll see you guys later.